Hi all, welcome back to the project. Now that we have completed this hero section, let's get to the next section. So the next section is basically an about us section. Now the about us section will have a title, and I would like to have an image on one side and some text on the other side. That's the basic idea. Now we will create this title section. This is going to be repeated in all of these following sections. So we're going to have some general styles for this, and then we will do some specific styling for about us. So let's start with having the content. So we are coming here, this is our new section, so let's name it section. All right, we've got a section. Now inside the section, like I said, we are going to have a left side image and the right side this one. So I'm going to have two divs. We are going to have one div, like a parent div. On inside that, we're going to have on one side image and other side text. So let's input the image first. So I'm going to call it image src, and in the folder I already have an image here called about. If you go to the images folder, I have got an image called about. So I'm going to call that image here. So images folder imgs/about.g. Let's give it an alt tag and call it Southern Dental Clinic photo, something like that. We've got the image ready. Now we'll name this about image. It's one section. On the other section, we're going to have some text. Let's call it about text. Now I personally don't want to have a really big paragraph right on the home page of the website. So I want to make this paragraph, this text, a little bit interesting. So I'm going to have a small paragraph, then I'm going to have two lists side by side, and then I'm going to have another small paragraph, so the list looks a little bit interesting. So how to do that? First section is going to be, like I said, a paragraph. So I'm going to copy some paragraph dummy content and then just paste it here. So we got a paragraph there. All right, and after the paragraph I want two small lists side by side. So let's create a parent for that. So this is a parent div. Now we're going to have two lists side by side. So I'm going to create this as a list. Let's add two lines, list items. So I'm going to copy this dummy content and paste it, and then we're going to have another dummy content for another list item. Now I'm going to repeat this list one more time. Now it looks nice, correct? Now we've got two sections and everything is nice and cool. Now what did we miss? We missed a heading. So let's do some heading. So we're going to go, I'm going to create, this is going to be a general section. So I'm going to go to div class and call it section title. We're going to use it on many of the sections of, all the following sections coming by. Inside this, we're going to have an h2, and the h2 will say basically about us. That's pretty much it. So if I refresh now, we've got a heading, we've got an image and some text. I forgot to add the last paragraph. Let's add one more paragraph after this. Perfect. So we got that two paragraphs, correct. Now the first thing is that I always want to have after the first section, which is a menu, we don't need a space between this, but after the second section and all the following sections, we want a little bit of spacing. So I want a margin here. All right, an empty 5 let's give. So let's create that general margin. Instead of py5, let's create an empty 5. So margin top 5. So it's not padding, it's going to be margin top 5. Perfect. So now if I refresh, you can see I got some space there. Now let's create this this general class for section title. Now here what I want to achieve, basically the section title, is that the first thing is that I want text align to be center, and the other thing I want to achieve in a section title is I want to make it a little more bigger. So I'm going to make the font size 2 rem. So we've got a title, a little bit more. Now I want a little spacing after this about us, so I'm going to put the same old padding that we used to use. Perfect. Now we've got this side by side. The next thing I want to do is that I want on a bigger screens this text to be on the side by side. Here this text has to be side by side. So I'm going to go here and then call in this has to be on the bigger screen, so I'm going to call it on the large, and then I'm going to put it flex, which means now we have to use a media query. Let's go down to our this section. This is going to be a new section. Let's call it about CSS. Now let's we have to use a media query, so I'm gonna make media and a minimum width of 992 pixel is what I follow, so I'm going to stick to the same thing, and then I'm going to open the bracket. Now we are going to have a large flex class here, and this one basically what I want to do is that I'm going to give a display position and call it flex. You know what a flex does? Flex puts the items side by side. Now you can see that items are side by side. One other thing is that this first section I wanted it all the way from edge to the edge. However, the following sections I want some spacing on the left and the right. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go here and call this section a container, so I can give some spacing on the left and the right. So what I'm going to do is this is a general thing, right? We're going to repeat it on all. So let's go on the top here and call it container, okay, and give a width of only 90%. I don't want it 100%. I want some space. So now you see the spaces only on the left side. I want the space equally divided on the left and the right. Why I am giving 90% is because I don't want to give separate let's say 900 pixel onto the big screen, some other pixel on the small screen. If I say percentage, it's same for all the screens, so that's why. So I'm going to give margin left, I'm going to call it auto. Margin right, I'm going to call it auto. Perfect. Now you see that it's divided here. So when I give it in percentage, it helps me all the way in all the sections. Here you see all the smaller screen, slightly bigger screen, in the tablet screen, I have the left and the right at 10% padding. That helps, perfect. Now what I want to do is that this image is a little bigger, so let's give some styling to that. So what we are going to now do is style the actual section. So the first thing I want to do is that I want to go to the about image section and call the image and give a width of 100%. So this means that I need this width 100% inside the container, you see, but it goes all the way till here. So we have to make sure that these containers stay 50% 50%. So what we can do is that we can go here and go about image. I want the width to be 50%. About text, I want the width to be 50% as well. Perfect. Now we have 50% and 50%. There's no complications. All right. Now the other thing what I want to do is that I want to give some spacing. You see this is all too much close to each other. So let's give some spacing. So on the large flex, let's give a left and right padding left, padding right. We're gonna stick to 1.25 rem. So we got some padding over there on the left and the right side, and the other thing that I want to give is some padding on the image. Image is coming too much onto the edge. I'm gonna repeat the same padding there. So now we have some space. I don't want this this dots to come in, so I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go to, let's say, about text ULLI, no, actually UL, let's say list style is equal to none. Perfect, that thing is gone. Now earlier I said I want these two lists to go side by side. You see these two lists, I want it side by side, which means that here we want it to go to the flex as well. But when I do that, what happens is that it goes, you see, if you focus it, you can see that. Let's put some spacing, py5. So now you have some spacing. It goes on the left hand side on a bigger screen. But however, if I go to a slightly smaller screen, such as a tablet, not a mobile phone, a tablet, this is coming one after one. In tablet we have enough space on the left side. So in tablet as well, I want it on the left and the right. So let's create another, sort of a flex element. This is on the really large screen. Let's create it for the medium screen. Let's create a MD flex for like a medium screen, so we can do that. So for that, what we will do is that this is not 992 pixel, we will use it at 640 pixel. When a screen hits 640 pixel, we want this to start. All right, let's call it MD flex and give the same property, which is display flex. So now what will happen is, in a tablet screen, these both will be flexed. On larger screen, this images will be flexed. Perfect. So this is exactly what we are trying to achieve. We've got this one, and yeah, most of it is right. Now one other thing is that this doesn't look like a list because we don't have much. I would like to have a pointer there, so I didn't want to remove it. So instead of removing it, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add a custom image for this thing, because if I don't add a custom image, it just gives me this dot, which I don't like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to list style. I'm going to put an image. So let's go to our image folder. Okay, let's have a little bit of image over there. So I would like to use an image called tick. It's just a tick mark over there. So let's go to our this one URL. We are going back from the CSS folder. We are going to the images folder, and we are going to call an image tick.svg. Perfect. So if I refresh now, you see instead of the dot, we see some tick marks over there. So I'm not sure if I can, let's go back to 75% or something. 50%. See, we get to see the tick mark. Now I would like to have some spacing here around. There's really less spacing. I don't like it. It's just way too crowded. So let's have some spacing. This section, I wanted some spacing. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go here and I'm going to make it margin top, auto, margin bottom. Okay, and then we're gonna have a vertical line. Perfect. So now that it is done, let's just go to a bigger screen and see how it looks like. I'm just going to minimize it a little bit so we see it a little clearly. So if you see it, um, so now that we have done this most of the elements, let's try to see it. It looks fine. What happens sometimes, your image gets a little bigger, in some screens, depending on the people's screen size. See, if somebody has like a really small screen, their image is bigger, but if they have a little bigger screen, your text is smaller. So what I would like to have is this, if this is smaller, I want this in the middle, and if it is just smaller, I want this on the middle. So let's add some margin to achieve that. So what we are going to do is that we're going to put some margin of top and the bottom, margin top, and we're going to call it auto, so it aligns in the middle. Same with margin bottom. Perfect. We're going to repeat the same thing onto the text as well. Vertical align, we'll put it as middle. Perfect. Now as you can see, now it is in the middle. So if I go slightly here, so the image becomes in the middle. If it is really big, the text becomes in the middle. So pretty much we have done our about us section. Let's just have a look at it. It looks fine now. I'm going to so we have an about us section. If I minimize, it looks neat. Now let's get to the next section.